It started on a night that was supposed to be perfect, the kind of evening you plan for weeks, down to the flowers on the table and the way the lights shimmer across the pool. Elena Moore stood there in an emerald green dress, one hand resting over her stomach, hiding the tiniest swell of new life. She had rehearsed her words 100 times in the mirror, imagining her husband's reaction, the gasp of surprise, the tears in his eyes, the way he'd spin her around and tell her she was his whole world. She thought that night would save their marriage. Instead, it ended everything. Across the pool, Lucas Moore, the tech billionaire, everyone admired, the man whose face was splashed across magazines, stood laughing with a woman who wasn't his wife. Savannah Lane, with her fiery red hair and a dress that fit like it was painted on, smiled up at him, her hand resting on his arm like she owned it. Elena had noticed how often he looked at his phone that night, the way his attention drifted from guest to guest. And now watching him with Savannah, every gut instinct she'd pushed down for months screamed the truth. "Thank you all for coming tonight." Elena began, her voice shaking slightly, though she masked it with a practiced smile. Guests turned toward her champagne glasses, catching the glow of soft golden lights. She opened her mouth to share her secret when a commotion by the pool drew every eye. A clumsy guest brushed past Savannah, knocking her off balance. She stumbled, her heels slipping on the slick marble edge, and in an instant she toppled backward into the glowing blue water. Elena, too close to the edge, reached out instinctively and felt herself being yanked forward. The icy water swallowed her whole. The weight of her gown dragged her down, twisting around her legs like seaweed. She clawed upward, her lungs burning panic, clawing at her chest. Through the distorted water, she saw a blur of motion, Lucas diving in. Relief surged through her. He was coming to save her. But then his powerful strokes carried him right past her. He went straight for Savannah. Elena's body screamed for air as her vision darkened. She kicked and struggled, but the fabric bound her like chains. The world above was a blur of muffled screams and splashing water, and the man who had once sworn to love her was holding someone else in his arms. Just as her body started to go limp, strong hands grabbed her. "I've got you," a deep voice shouted. She felt herself being pulled upward, coughing violently as she broke the surface. She collapsed on the deck, shivering, spitting out water. People rushed to throw towels over Savannah while Lucas knelt beside her, murmuring soft reassurances. Nobody came to Elena except the stranger who had dragged her from the pool. A tall man in a soaked tuxedo, his brown hair plastered to his forehead, his jaw tight with anger. "Call an ambulance," he barked. "She's in shock." Lucas didn't even look over. At the hospital, Elena lay pale against stark white sheets, the warmth of blankets doing nothing to stop the chill running through her bones. The stranger introduced himself as Noah Carter, a lawyer who had been invited as a +1. He hadn't left her side once. Doctors and nurses rushed in and out, whispering updates. And then Dr. Patel came in, her expression grim but soft. "Elena, I'm so sorry," she said gently. "You were about 12 weeks along. The trauma from tonight caused a miscarriage." Those words hit like a freight train. Elena's fingers tightened around the blanket, her breath coming in shallow gasps. She turned her face away, tears soaking into the pillow. She'd been carrying Lucas's child. A miracle she thought would heal their broken marriage was gone. And Lucas, he didn't come. Not that night, not the next morning. When he finally strolled in, his hair perfectly styled, his shirt pressed, it was already too late. Noah was there, standing like a guard at her bedside. Lucas looked at Elena like he was seeing a stranger. "You weren't even here," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I almost died. Our baby." She choked on the word, biting her lip to keep from sobbing. "And you didn't even look at me." Lucas's eyes flickered a flash of guilt, quickly smothered by irritation. "Elena, you're overreacting. Savannah needed me. She was hurt. Get out." Noah cut in, his voice low but deadly calm. Lucas scoffed. "And who the hell are you?" "The man who saved your wife," Noah said coldly. "And I'm also an attorney who specializes in holding men like you accountable." Lucas's face paled, but he didn't argue. He turned on his heel and left his expensive shoes echoing down the hallway. That was the moment Elena realized her marriage was truly dead. In the weeks that followed, she disappeared from the glamorous life she had once known. Noah found her a safe apartment away from Lucas's reach and visited often. She stopped crying at night and started asking questions. Noah laid out the truth. Lucas's empire was built on lies, offshore accounts, shell companies' stolen investments. Lucas Moore wasn't just an unfaithful husband, he was a criminal. "Do you want him to pay?" Noah asked one evening, his voice steady but his eyes searching hers. Elena thought of the night she almost drowned, the way Lucas had clutched Savannah like she was priceless, while their child slipped away inside her. She thought of the reporters who called her marriage a modern fairy tale, never knowing the fairy tale had been a prison. She wiped her tears and met Noah's gaze. "I want everything," she said. "His money, his company, his reputation. I want him to lose everything he loves the way he made me lose everything I loved." What followed was a war. Noah's legal team dug into every corner of Lucas's empire. A brave whistleblower, Lucas's own CFO, Emily Zhang, secretly handed over files exposing years of fraud. And the final blow came from the woman who had stolen Lucas's heart, Savannah Lane. Turns out Savannah had been documenting everything from the start, keeping texts, recordings, and photos as leverage. When she realized Lucas's empire was crumbling, she flipped. "I never loved him," she admitted to investigators. "He was my ticket in. And now, I'm getting out." The evidence they built was staggering bank transfers to tax havens, contracts showing embezzlement, and videos of Lucas bragging about evading federal audits. Noah worked like a man possessed, and Elena transformed. She was no longer the shy woman who once clung to Lucas's arm at gala events. She became focused, calculating, relentless. The trial was a media circus. Lucas looked like a ghost of himself in his tailored suit, pale and gaunt. Elena walked into that courtroom in a simple black dress, her head high, every step radiating strength. Savannah testified first, her calm voice cutting through Lucas's defense like a blade. "He told me he'd leave Elena after she had the baby," she said, her tone icy. "He said being married to her was good for his image, but I was the one he wanted. He laughed about lying to investors, about cheating the system. He thought he was untouchable." Then Noah took the stand. "I was there," he said, looking directly at the jury. "I saw Lucas Moore make a choice. He swam past his wife, who was carrying his child, and chose another woman instead. That decision tells you everything you need to know about his character." The jury deliberated for less than an hour. Guilty on all counts: fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion, wire fraud. Lucas was sentenced to 42 years in federal prison with no chance of parole. Every asset he owned was awarded to Elena. But Elena didn't use the money to build another empire. She used it to help women like her, those trapped in toxic marriages, those whose partners used money as a weapon. She started a foundation funding shelters and legal aid. Her story was splashed across headlines. From socialite to survivor, Elena Moore brings down billionaire husband. Months later, in a quiet garden outside her modest new home, Noah knelt in the dirt beside her as she planted roses. "I know how we met," he said softly, "and I know you've been through hell. But Elena, you're the strongest woman I've ever met. Will you marry me? Not because you need saving, but because I want to spend my life with someone who knows what love really means." Elena looked at him, at the simple ring in his hand, at the life she'd built from ashes. "Yes," she said with a small smile. "But only if you promise never to rescue another drowning woman while I'm around." Noah laughed, pulling her close, and for the first time in a long time, Elena felt safe. Meanwhile, in a gray prison cell, Lucas Moore sat on a narrow cot, staring at the wall. Savannah had fled the country, living under a new name while he rotted in silence. He'd once owned everything: money, power, fame, and now he had nothing but regrets. Elena's story became a legend, a cautionary tale whispered at business dinners and charity galas. Never underestimate the woman you betray. What do you think? Was Elena's revenge justified, or did she go too far? Have you ever seen someone finally stand up to a person who thought they were untouchable? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you believe in justice, hit that like button and subscribe. There are more stories like this one, stories that remind us that power means nothing without character, and that sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one you underestimated all along.